Power. It's something everyone claims to want, but almost no one understands. And here's the brutal truth. The rules of power aren't posted anywhere, and the ones you've been following are probably keeping you exactly where you are, small, frustrated, and politely ignored. Machiavelli, centuries ago, didn't just hint at these truths. He lived them, studied them, and quietly warned that the most effective wielders of influence operate in ways the world barely notices. And the subtle irony? The more you think you're being clever, the more likely you are to play exactly into the traps that keep you powerless. Even in everyday life, power plays out in ways that feel almost absurd if you notice them. The colleague who always seems to get credit, the friend who subtly manipulates conversations, the leader who never seems to make mistakes. All of them are operating on unspoken principles. And the humor is in how predictable it is. Human behavior, when observed closely, is as patterned and precise as a chessboard, yet most people wander through it thinking they're improvising brilliantly. Machiavelli understood that power is as much psychological as it is structural. Influence grows not only from control but from perception, timing, and subtle manipulation of expectations. One law of power is deceptively simple. Visibility is vulnerability. Those who reveal too much, show every emotion, or overshare intentions are, in effect, painting targets on themselves. The powerful, Machiavelli observed, understand the art of mystery. There's subtle humor here. Watch the overconfident or over-explaining person in a meeting. They think clarity is authority, but in reality, the more they expose, the easier they are to outmaneuver. The lesson is quiet but devastating. Discretion breeds influence. Keep some cards close, some motives hidden, and the world treats you differently, often without anyone consciously noticing why. Another law is about alliances. Power is rarely built in isolation. Machiavelli knew that the right alliances amplify influence exponentially. But here's the twist. Alliances are fluid, and loyalty is transactional. The humor is in watching people treat relationships like permanent endorsements rather than strategic instruments. The truth is subtle. The most effective networkers understand who to support, when to step back, and how to deploy alliances without appearing manipulative. Influence is relational, and mastery lies in seeing opportunity where others see obligation. Even perception, how others interpret your actions, is more important than the action itself. Machiavelli would laugh at the notion that competence alone commands respect. Often, the illusion of competence is more potent than competence itself. The subtle comedy emerges when you notice how easily people are swayed by appearances. The polished speech, the carefully timed gesture, the confident posture, all these signal authority far more reliably than raw ability. And the lesson is clear. Perception is a currency of power, often more valuable than talent, skill, or effort. Another law, anticipation is authority. Those who can predict human behavior, understand patterns, and act before the crowd gains a natural advantage. The humor is quiet but unmistakable. People stumble repeatedly over the same predictable mistakes, unaware that foresight is what separates leaders from followers. Machiavelli's genius lay in recognizing patterns in human weakness, desire, and pride. The modern application is just as relevant. Read situations, notice repeated behaviors, and act strategically, often before others even realize a choice exists. Even restraint is power. The subtlety is key. People mistake constant action for influence, but restraint amplifies authority. There's comedy in watching those who overcommit, speak too often, or push too hard. They burn energy and credibility, often undermining themselves while thinking they're gaining ground. The truly powerful act sparingly, choose moments carefully, and allow absence, silence, or patience to magnify their presence. It's almost paradoxical. Less becomes more, invisibility becomes prominence, and silence speaks volumes that words could never achieve. Another law is the strategic use of opposition. Machiavelli observed that true leaders do not merely crush enemies. They understand the value of controlled challenge. Opposition can sharpen skills, reveal weaknesses, and even legitimize authority if managed correctly. And the humor lies in how often people fail to see this. They attack resistance directly, exhausting themselves, while the perceptive observer leverages tension, allowing others to expose their own vulnerabilities. Mastery is subtle, almost invisible, and often leaves the unwitting opponent wondering what happened. Finally, power is cyclical, not linear. Machiavelli knew that influence waxes and wanes, and that humility, timing, and awareness are essential for sustainability. Those who assume permanence are doomed to sudden reversals. The irony, almost darkly comedic, is in watching overconfident individuals crash spectacularly because they never recognized the rhythm of influence. Power is less about accumulation and more about navigation, knowing when to push, when to retreat, when to reveal, and when to conceal. The lesson is subtle. Mastery is perpetual awareness, not raw ambition. Even human nature itself is a law. Machiavelli's most enduring insight is that people are predictable in their desires, fears, and weaknesses. Observing these patterns allows a subtle, almost surgical exercise of influence. The humor is in noticing how consistently humans repeat mistakes: overconfidence, envy, laziness, pride. The truly powerful anticipate these patterns and act strategically, often leaving others bewildered by outcomes they never saw coming. And the ironic truth? Those who claim to value merit, fairness, or morality are often blindsided by these unspoken rules, while the perceptive quietly advance. And here's the transformational insight. Power is not inherently evil, nor is it always visible. Machiavelli's genius lies in exposing the rules, not moralizing them. Influence is an art form, subtle, psychological, relational, and strategic. Those who understand these laws navigate life with far more ease, impact, and freedom than those who rely solely on brute effort, visible achievement, or raw intention. The humor of life, however, ensures that lessons are repeated. Until noticed, missteps, social blunders, and human absurdity act as guides, sometimes painfully, sometimes comically, toward mastery. Finally, the unspoken rule emerges. Power is awareness. It is seeing patterns, observing human behavior, and acting with intention. It is understanding perception, timing, restraint, and relational dynamics. Machiavelli's warnings were clear. Those who ignore these laws, either out of arrogance, naivety, or moral posturing, remain powerless, often confused as to why the world does not bend to their will. The humor is quietly omnipresent. Life delights in showing the predictable folly of those who overlook the subtle, invisible mechanics of influence. The first law, visibility is vulnerability, reveals its brilliance in the smallest, most unexpected ways. Consider the coworker who always overshares in meetings, broadcasting every thought as if the world must witness their brilliance. On the surface, it seems harmless, maybe even charming. Yet, as Machiavelli would quietly note, every extra word is a thread exposed, a foothold for others to pull, manipulate, or outmaneuver. The humor is subtle. The over-explainer often thinks they are asserting dominance, but in reality, they're handing power to those who understand the value of restraint. Watching this unfold is like seeing someone trip on the tiniest pebble after arrogantly skipping over boulders. Inevitable, absurd, and secretly satisfying to the keen observer. The lesson? Speak less, reveal less, and let mystery create influence. People unconsciously respect and fear what they cannot fully comprehend. The second law, the strategic use of alliances, manifests everywhere, even in everyday life. Think about a social circle where favors are exchanged, subtle support is given, and influence is quietly leveraged. The master of power recognizes the transactional nature of these connections without letting them appear transactional. The comedy emerges when someone treats every interaction as a permanent friendship or unbreakable bond. They trust blindly, expecting loyalty, while the perceptive navigate the ebb and flow of alliances, knowing that the world rewards strategy over sentiment. The subtle beauty lies in balance. Align when advantageous, detach when necessary, and maintain a veneer of neutrality that conceals the chessboard beneath. The third law, perception over competence, plays out in arenas both public and private. It's fascinating how easily people are swayed by appearances. The confident posture, the calm tone, the well-timed word often matter more than the actual merit behind them. Machiavelli would smile quietly at those who assume that effort alone guarantees respect. Life's subtle humor appears here. The less competent, yet perfectly poised, often achieve more influence than the skilled but visibly anxious. The lesson? Curate presence as carefully as skill. People may forget the details of your work, but they rarely forget the impression you leave. Influence, after all, is as much about perception as reality. The fourth law, anticipation is authority, is almost a superpower when understood and applied. Human behavior, Machiavelli observed, is riddled with patterns. People repeat mistakes, reveal desires predictably, and respond to similar stimuli in consistent ways. Those who notice these rhythms act before the crowd, steering events with precision and subtlety. The comedy is quiet but undeniable. Most people stumble predictably, missing obvious cues, while the perceptive, having seen the same patterns repeated countless times, glide through situations seemingly effortlessly. Anticipation transforms chaos into strategy, panic into poise, and reaction into orchestration. The fifth law, restraint, is deceptively simple but devastatingly effective. Those who push, overcommit, or speak constantly often burn credibility, exhausting both energy and influence. Meanwhile, those who act sparingly, speak with purpose, and strategically delay interventions gain disproportionate respect. Life's humor shines here. The overzealous, the eager, and the compulsively active consistently undermine themselves in ways that are simultaneously frustrating and quietly amusing. The lesson is paradoxical. Less is more, silence is louder than words, and measured absence magnifies presence. The truly powerful understand that patience is not weakness, it is authority refined through timing. The sixth law, the strategic use of opposition, teaches a lesson both subtle and profound. Machiavelli knew that crushing resistance outright often backfires, whereas skillfully leveraging opposition can strengthen authority. Consider a manager who allows challenges from a subordinate, guiding the confrontation without appearing controlling. The subordinate's energy, frustration, or even rebellion becomes a tool, revealing weaknesses, clarifying positions, and legitimizing leadership. The humor is quietly delicious. Those who fail to harness opposition exhaust themselves in needless battles, while the perceptive manipulate tension into advantage without breaking a sweat. Opposition, when managed artfully, amplifies influence rather than diminishing it. The seventh law, the cyclical nature of power, is often overlooked, yet it governs the rise and fall of every figure throughout history. Machiavelli understood that influence is rarely permanent. Hubris, neglect, or misjudgment invites rapid decline. Those who assume permanence are almost always blindsided, while those who anticipate cycles act with foresight and caution. The subtle humor is in observing the overconfident stumble. They assume control is unassailable, only to be undone by the very patterns they ignored. Mastery, therefore, is navigation, knowing when to push, when to retreat, when to reveal, and when to conceal. The rhythm of power is relentless, and awareness is everything. Even human nature itself is a law, perhaps the most important. People are predictably flawed, overconfident, envious, lazy, impulsive. Machiavelli's genius was seeing these patterns and exploiting them without moralizing. The humor is inevitable. Those who rely on idealism, fairness, or naive morality consistently fail, while those who understand the subtle psychology of influence succeed with quiet precision. Observation, patience, and understanding of human tendencies remain the greatest tools in the wielding of power. Even everyday life becomes a laboratory for these laws. In the office, social events, or family interactions, influence manifests constantly. The carefully timed compliment, the strategic silence, the measured withdrawal from conflict, all are applications of these principles. Life's subtle humor appears when someone missteps. Predictably, failing to notice the obvious while the quietly aware manipulate outcomes almost invisibly. Mastery is subtle, often invisible, and frequently misunderstood by those around you. And here's the transformational insight. Power is not inherently about domination, intimidation, or cruelty. It is awareness, strategy, and alignment with human behavior. It is the recognition of patterns, the management of perception, and the deployment of energy in ways that amplify influence without unnecessary struggle. Machiavelli's brilliance was understanding the laws of power and observing that those who ignore them, whether out of ignorance, arrogance, or moral posturing, remain trapped in mediocrity, perpetually baffled as to why the world does not bend to their will. The humor is quiet, inevitable, and almost affectionate. Life delights in showing the folly of those who fail to see what is right in front of them. Finally, the subtle, underlying truth emerges. Power is less about the visible, dramatic maneuvers we associate with dominance, and more about the invisible, calculated orchestration of perception, relationships, timing, and restraint. It is quiet mastery, almost imperceptible, yet profoundly effective. Those who understand these principles navigate the world with greater freedom, influence, and resilience, while those who ignore them stumble through life, perplexed by their own limitations. And the understated humor? Life continues to present small, perfectly timed absurdities, teaching lessons in influence, strategy, and timing that are as comical as they are essential. By now, the pattern is undeniable. Power is rarely what we think it is. It isn't loud speeches, flashy displays, or constant effort. Machiavelli's brilliance lay in observing that true influence operates quietly, invisibly, often in ways that the untrained eye cannot detect. The subtle humor is unavoidable. The very people who believe they are asserting dominance, speaking over others, over-explaining, or over-committing, are usually handing their influence to someone else, someone who knows the art of restraint, perception, and timing. Power, in its most refined form, is a game of subtlety, and the universe has a comically precise way of ensuring that lessons are learned. Even daily life becomes a laboratory for mastery. In meetings, social gatherings, or casual conversations, the laws of influence quietly unfold. Consider the coworker who always seems to command attention, not because they shout louder, but because they speak less, listen more, and reveal only what serves their purpose. The humor is in watching others flail with overcommitment, overexposure, or overreaction, unaware that the true power is in measured engagement. Machiavelli would nod. Those who control perception, timing, and relational dynamics hold authority that is both stable and nearly invisible. The law of alliances continues to reveal its potency. Strategic partnerships, collaborations, and relational networks multiply influence far beyond individual capacity. But the mastery lies in subtlety, understanding when to lean in, when to step back, and when to allow others to act, all without appearing manipulative. Life, in its wry humor, constantly tests this skill. A casual social misstep, an unexpected critique, or a minor misunderstanding can reveal both the strength and fragility of alliances. Those who navigate these moments with awareness and composure consolidate influence, while those who react impulsively expose vulnerability. Even perception, the silent currency of influence, transforms interactions profoundly. People respond more to impressions than reality. Confidence, poise, timing, and mystery often matter far more than raw competence. Machiavelli would observe quietly as the less skilled, yet perfectly composed, rise effortlessly while the capable but anxious stumble spectacularly. The humor here is deliciously ironic. Effort alone does not command respect. Careful orchestration of image and timing does. Mastery lies in awareness, in knowing that human perception is malleable, and in gently guiding it to reinforce authority. Anticipation, the fourth law, becomes a superpower in the modern world. Those who read human behavior, recognize predictable patterns, and act before others gain extraordinary advantage. Think of the friend who always seems to know what's coming, the colleague who predicts challenges, or the leader who addresses conflict before it escalates. Machiavelli's insight is timeless, foresight is influence. And the humor? Most people repeat predictable mistakes endlessly, while the perceptive manipulate outcomes with effortless poise, almost invisibly. Anticipation is both a shield and a tool, a quiet, elegant form of authority. Restraint, the fifth law, continues to confound the impulsive. Those who act constantly, speak incessantly, or overreach often burn credibility and energy. The master of influence, however, acts sparingly, speaks deliberately, and allows absence or delay to amplify presence. Life ensures the lesson is clear. Overextension rarely wins, strategic patience does. The humor lies in observing those who fail to grasp this, eager, impatient, overexposed, while the quietly restrained manipulate situations without appearing to try. Less, paradoxically, becomes more. Silence, subtlety, and discretion command far greater respect than noise or bluster. Strategic use of opposition, the sixth law, plays out like a chess game. Conflict, resistance, and challenge are inevitable, but those who wield influence understand how to manage opposition. The adversary's energy, frustration, and even rebellion can be leveraged as tools, revealing weaknesses, legitimizing authority, and clarifying positions. Life's subtle comedy is evident. Those who attack resistance directly often exhaust themselves, while the perceptive manipulate tension to their advantage, almost invisibly. Opposition becomes not an obstacle but a resource. Its mismanagement is predictable, and its mastery is transformative. Finally, the cyclical nature of power reminds us of impermanence. Influence rises, wanes, and shifts with circumstance, timing, and human behavior. Overconfidence, neglect, or hubris invites rapid decline. The humor is quiet but relentless. The overconfident are often blindsided by the very patterns they ignore. Machiavelli would observe, with a wry smile, how those who assume permanence falter spectacularly, while the aware, patient, and adaptable navigate cycles effortlessly. Mastery is not accumulation. It is navigation, timing, restraint, awareness, and subtle orchestration of events and perception. Even human nature itself is a law. People are predictable in their desires, fears, and weaknesses. Machiavelli's genius was seeing these patterns and exploiting them without moralizing. The subtle humor emerges as those who rely on fairness, virtue, or idealism are repeatedly outmaneuvered, while the perceptive act quietly, strategically, and effectively. Observing human nature, anticipating behavior, and acting with awareness are the ultimate tools of influence. Even creativity, spontaneity, and everyday life become exercises in subtle power. A well-timed word, a carefully deployed silence, a strategic withdrawal, all are small acts of influence. Life ensures that lessons arrive in precise, often absurdly inconvenient ways. The coworker who triggers envy, the friend who misinterprets a comment, or the unforeseen consequence of an impulsive choice. The humor is undeniable. Life nudges, prods, and arranges experiences to teach mastery, often in ways that feel comically obvious in retrospect. Finally, the transformational truth crystallizes. Power is not about cruelty, aggression, or domination. It is awareness, strategy, and alignment with human behavior. It is perception, timing, restraint, and relational orchestration. Machiavelli's laws are less moral prescriptions than observational wisdom, tools to navigate a world where influence is earned quietly, strategically, and subtly. Those who understand these principles operate with freedom, effectiveness, and resilience, while those who ignore them remain frustrated, perplexed, and predictably outmaneuvered. And the subtle, enduring humor? Life delights in showing the folly of those who fail to observe these invisible rules. Repeated mistakes, overreactions, and predictable errors serve as reminders that mastery is possible but requires awareness, patience, and subtle orchestration. Influence, once understood, transforms not only outcomes but perception, relationships, and even the absurdly comical dynamics of daily life. The ultimate lesson is this: power is less about aggression and more about understanding, less about brute force and more about subtlety, less about visibility and more about the invisible currents shaping human behavior. Machiavelli's genius was in revealing these laws to those willing to observe, reflect, and act with deliberate intelligence. The humor, irony, and absurd precision of life's lessons remain constants, making the journey of influence both profound and quietly entertaining.